back here in one of my favorite places. Got a lot of new country to explore out there. The distance. Never approached from this direction. We've been out that way together, in that direction. The more southern and hotter parts of this region. So we'll have some company this time to explore some of those forests and canyons and washes and such up there. But this may be Shakey's last stand, we'll have to call this one, or Shakey's last legs or something of that effect, since Shakey there is stuck in the depression and can't get out on its own. It's unclear if the thing will really move at all again once out of there. Saw a rancher's camp back that way, so there's a water line here, there's some springs out there. We're not in a situation per se, but may very well be Shakey's last legs, we're calling this one. Got a pine, juniper, quercus interface here. It's all southern low Mojave Desert in that direction. Black brush dominated ecosystem here. For the most part though, Coleogyne ramosissima still in flower and ubiquitous here, with a couple perches sprinkled in for effect. Descarania Sophia here, starting to appear along these disturbed ass roadsides, and this one's distinguished by having siliques from its congeners around here. The others all have much stouter fruits, which we call silicles, of course, in the Brassicaceae. This is Persia glandulosa right here, forming pretty extensive sprays on some of these exposed. So it's their peak flowering period, clearly, first week of May right now. Petals are very ephemeral. He's supposed to have 5, as most roses, but most of them are lucky if they have 2 or 3, which is kind of interesting. They form these vast sprays, but only so ephemerally. It's called Persia glandulosa because, as we maybe can see here, they're rather sticky. Here we go, back in one of my favorite places on earth. Got a couple guests this time, but for now let's just look at Quercus chrysolepis here in flower. You can see that it's wind pollinated. Those flowers don't have petals. No reason to attract pollinators when you can just use the wind. This is quite a beautiful, robust individual of Quercus chrysolepis. I was just mentioning these wind-pollinated oaks, and it's a little bit of a case in point. Lots of fertility going on right here.
Yeah, so next year...
Got a mostly dry wash here, mostly seasonal in terms of the water that is present here. It looks nice and clear, not too full of algae yet. And as we know, it's a precious commodity in these parts. So if we were to go lower down and into the desert flats ahead, quickly lose all water. But since we're in some montane foothills here, it is coming to the surface just here and there. Lots of stretches of this wash are very dry, so nice little spot where the surface water table actually intersects with the ground. There'll be some frogs here, week or two, that'd be pretty nice. A lot of these, well, we're pretty low here, below 5,000 feet, and a lot of these lower waterways do indeed support nice communities of tadpoles and such. So I know we're gonna see it more later, but for now, here's our first introduction to Fraxinus anomala, and where we're gonna see them typically. They like the dry hillsides. Sometimes you see them in a canyon or wash bottom, but they never get this big, and this one is really thriving with the water table here. Quite an exceptional individual of Fraxinus anomala. Look how bright green this thing is. It's the the greenest emerald in the desert right now. This Fraxinus anomala. We look at the surrounding veg, quite darker hues of green in general compared to deciduous broadleaf Fraxinus, really just thriving in this ephemeral waterway here. Quite the individual. Got our second red pen stem in recent weeks. Last time we saw Utahensis, and here we've got Etonii. Beautiful firecracker red. This is obviously very special for southern Nevada. The running water. Lots of Eurasian weeds in the waterway. It's disturbed many senses, but that's a different story. Plenty of native riparian taxa here. There's Carex just collected there, or Elaeocharis, I believe. The cottonwoods obviously are native to western United States, including here, and we knew there were wetlands here. We knew there was more than just a dry wash here by the presence of the cottonwoods further down. So what'll happen with this waterway is it will dip in between dry and wet states, depending on where you are in the wash and where the water table is. Clearly we're close to the water table here, but downstream just a little bit there are fully dry sections that nonetheless have cottonwoods, and so they're still able to tap down into the water table even if there's no groundwater. Got Aquilegia formosa here, a native, quite a stunning flowering native plant. Got those elongate nectar spurs, signifying, along with the red color, hummingbird pollination here. And only occurs very closely tied to water in Nevada, at least. Pretty clear to me that after the burn happened here in the early successional stages of replacement happened, that lots of Persia and Ceanothus shrubbery is really preferred in these new openings in what was once a pinyon juniper forest. Quite beautiful this time of year. You can see what happens at the edge of the spring without that water source. that bright greenery, the bright cottonwoods totally disappear up into there where you see it's pretty much just pinyon juniper forest in those upper washes now. Been quite a day out here. The car earlier was stuck in that ditch down there, as we had seen, and it's now out there on the road, driving very poorly. Remains to be seen if we'll get out of here with it, but we are carrying on nonetheless. There's still plenty in bloom. Got the horrible tumble mustard right here. It's a Cimbrium altissimum. It actually does form quote-unquote tumbleweeds. So tumbleweed is a habit. Tumbleweed is not referable to any one species or another. And it's all to say that lots of unrelated plants can form so-called tumbleweeds, and this pretty horrible invader from Eurasia forms tumbleweeds as mustards rather than kind of the common tumbleweeds that people think about, which are in the Amaranthaceae and tend to be in the genus Salsula. So one reason why we do have the horrible tumble mustards here is because there's quite a bit of grazing and disturbance in this area. I mean, we're on a roadside clearly as well, and roadsides facilitate spread of invasive weeds. No surprise to anyone really there. And I don't know, this one comes out pretty easily, so maybe not in the hard pan there. Oh, look at that. That one almost came out. Oh yeah, look at that. Smooth and easy. You know, doesn't matter that much. These things are gonna come back. They seed prolifically. But if everyone just pulled out a mustard here and there, maybe we'd have some impact. This is a common native annual here in the verbena family. This is Verbena goodingii. And it can form carpets at times, but more often fairly solitary. So there's some nice sunflowers here. You wouldn't find them lower down from here, really. Got the lower Mojave Desert in the distance there, and obviously we're not quite in the Mojave here anymore with all the pinions and junipers around here. So we're at the transition zone yet again, and quite a bit of forest higher up there in the highest elevations here. But anyway, we have some of those montane or Colorado Plateau elements just reaching down to perhaps their lower limits here. Got a pretty closely related to true sunflowers. This is Heliomeris as opposed to Helianthus, which are the true sunflowers. Heliomeris multiflora. And alongside, quite abundant here, Pachyra. Some galls on the Artemisia tridentata here. Not sure which taxa really cause these, if it's one or multiple species of insects. Probably wasps, I would guess. But these are fuzzy, and a plant would not ordinarily produce such structures if it hadn't been infected by some kind of wasp larvae or something of that effect. I'm gonna call this one Call this one Shakey's Last Stand. And see what happens. The car broke down in the ditch over there. We got pulled out. And at this point, the lower gears seem to be functioning, and we're gonna test the waters. Reverse and drive are not functioning though. We were just totally dead. Now we're moving back along somehow.
Shaky swan song.
Second gear stopped working.
Go Shaky!
We basically got stuck in some sand for a second, and then it started moving, and now it's working. Only God knows.
That's Jesus. Careful.
No reason to stop while Shakey's shaking along here. We have monocultures of Bromus tectorum and probably other invasive grasses for miles and miles out here, as far as the eye can see, in each direction oftentimes. And it hurts. I think it's hurting us all. It's a hideous sight, and people need to figure out how to deal with this a lot better. Well, that truly was Shakey's last stand, as a matter of fact. Here we are at the Mesquite airstrip. All my belongings are transferred to a rental vehicle at this point. Our guests are on their way back home via airplane. Dropped me off at a nearby metropolis to pick this baby up for the time being. When we stopped here, the transmission would not shift into park. Even after I shut off the car and tried to turn it back on again, not being in park means the car simply won't start actually at this point. But to have to force that gear into park the way I did was bespeaking a deeper problem for sure than the inability to start right now. And thanks so much for taking me all over this great state, elsewhere in the country and elsewhere, Canada for example. Been through a lot in 7 years together now. God, enabled so much research and papers that came out, and alright, I'm gonna get a little bit emotional if I keep talking. It's just a stupid car, and it's clearly a piece of junk at this point anyway. So time to move on. Got prosopis here. Anyway, been watering it a little bit. It's the only pathetic thing out here. Alright, buddy. Take it easy.